The time is 6:34 p.m. Uh, I would like to welcome each and every one that is present here, either in Zoom and even on our social media platforms that are streaming live. As we welcome you to our last public meeting of the 2025 fiscal year for December 17, 2025. So we want to welcome all of our city schools partners, all of our PCAB board members, any families or visitors or guests that is watching or streaming and joined in tonight. This meeting will be very light and short. As our agenda is now showing on the screen, we'll begin with our Vice Chair, Shartae Anderson, will be discussing about the Family Transportation Survey. And now it's in our hand of our Vice Chair.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give some insight into what we're doing here, one of our initiatives for this school year. So we currently have a family transportation survey out. And the purpose of the survey is just gather feedback from families about how transportation is affecting your child's safety and commute and access to school. So if you have a child in city schools who relies on transportation services to get to and from school, we do invite you to share your experience by completing this like pretty short 5-minute survey. We do plan to share the survey feedback with MTA as well as city school leadership, so that they can hear from families about, their perspective on what's working and then what needs to be improved. Just know that your feedback that you do share with us is anonymous, but it will help improve transportation for students and families across the city. The website for that is bit.ly/, PCAB transportation. And that is how you'll be able to, access a survey. And like I said, it's 5 minutes, really short. Just helping us be able to make transportation better for families. So that's all I have for the survey. We already got a really good turnout. And we just love to continue to get more people completing the survey. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just to reiterate, if we're able to share our flyers on our social medias or our websites about the family transportation survey, sending it to any of your affiliate groups or any associations that you may have, any schools or other parents, PTOs or PTAs, that would be greatly appreciated. Again, that website is bit.ly /PCAB at transportation. Um, Thank you right there. All right. Now, as we move forward in our meeting, we are like to welcome our guest, Ms. Vanessa Stone, the Director of Family Engagement and the Office of Communication Engagement and Enrollment of Baltimore City Schools. Tonight, she will be discussing about organized parent groups and additional information of how we can be involved, participation, and an engagement. Ms. Stone, you may take the
Okay.
floor.
Great, fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you. So this evening, I would like to talk about the organized parent groups. So our work here in the Office of Family Engagement is guided by Dr. Karen Mapp's dual capacity building framework. And I apologize for the wording being so small, but I will just quickly share that the dual capacity framework outlines the conditions that are necessary for effective family engagement. We know that there are always challenges at the school level with educators and families. We talk about then what are the essential conditions that are necessary, and we move into building the capacity of educators and family to partner together in this work, and then we talk about the conditions and the things that are necessary for effective partnerships and stronger family engagement at the school level. I'll go ahead to add that the dual capacity framework, as it relates to our organized parent groups, Again, we talk about the dual capacity mean doing with and not to families. And our organized parent group and parent leadership opportunities allow parents to be co-creators in school activities, drivers of student achievement. And as I shared before in the dual capacity building framework, is building the capacity of other family members and also building connections on behalf of the school. So what are organized parent groups? Organized parent groups are structured. They're a collective group of parents and caregivers who come together to support student success, enhance school culture, and again, become advocates for their needs of their children and the school community. Also, some of the goals for our organized parent groups is certainly to empower families. We want them to also be advocates for change, as well as supporting various school initiatives. Our district also has a policy for OPGs. You can certainly go on the district's website under the board docs, and you will be able to pull up some information on the policies of OPGs from Baltimore City School District. They are family-led. However, City Schools Family Engagement Policy provides certain guidelines to ensure that organized parent groups are equitable and effective, and that these guidelines help support schools' OPGs to also keep them in compliance. On this particular slide, we are just outlining additional district policy for organized parent groups. As you can see the various categories, it outlines the requirement for membership guidelines, the meeting guidelines, partnership guidelines, and documentation guidelines. I'm not going to read each of the bullets. I'll just let you glance over those. But I would like to highlight in each one of the categories, the membership guidelines, that again, this is election based. So folks have to host an election for new officers every year, have 10 active members, ensure membership is representative of the school community, which is super important, but also including representatives that represent our families and our young people who are in special education, as well as our multilingual communities. We talk about the guidelines, again, meeting at least 4 times per year. The partnership guidelines, again, the council should partner with the School Family Community Council to support school initiatives. And again, working with community partners to enhance the organized parent group initiatives. And last, under the documentation guidelines, to ensure that you're collecting data that shows that you are also engaging families and also hosting the organized parent group sessions. You're collecting sign-ins, agendas, notes, flyers, and evaluations, and programs hosted by the organized parent group. I just want to make a comment about the flyers, because certainly we want to make sure that we are also messaging out and sharing with families that you are also having or hosting or holding these meetings, but also making sure that we have the flyers, the notes, and all the information and the agendas that are in the languages that your family speak at your particular school. So why are organized parent groups necessary? In the policy, again, city schools family engagement policy requires that all schools have some sort of organized parent group. As I shared with you before in our framework, in the dual capacity building framework, it's important that families have funds of knowledge that can benefit the entire school community. Also, organized parent groups give families an opportunity to organize, advocate, and partner within the schools to support the school initiatives and goals. And also, organized parent groups strengthen communication and collaboration between families and school staff and community partners. And again, it's that sense of shared responsibility, but also a sense of school community, and also making sure and ensuring that we are engaging families and welcoming them into our schools. So the organized parent groups, plural, they have 3 main goals. Again, empowering families, advocating for change, and supporting school initiatives. Again, building the capacity of families to support their child's academic journey. So again, in our Office of Family Engagement, and what we encourage schools to do is to ensure that families and our young people understand where they are in their academic journey, which means how are we supporting families around parent-teacher conferences? Do they know where their children are as it relates to the standards, ages, stages, and grades? Are we bringing those families into the fold when we have events, that we're also teaching them a thing. It's great that we're having muffins with mom and donuts with dads, but also where's the opportunity for learning for our families? So we also want to keep it that at the top of mind as well. Of course, advocating for change, encouraging the voice of the school, family, and community and council to improve policy and to also ensure that we are, again, making sure that we have opportunities for families to be involved with the school. And again, partnering and supporting various school initiatives. Outlined here are some of the responsibilities of organized parent groups, supporting student learning, as I just highlighted. And again, you can read some of the bullets on each of the slides. We talk about collaboration with families and staff, support and facilitate professional learning opportunities for families and staff related to family and community engagement and academic achievement and cultural competency as well. We talk about empowering families in the top right-hand corner, that two-way communication and supporting relationships and building relationships with families. And the advocacy piece is join and promote family participation. And again, advocate for student and family interest and achievements by elevating the viewpoints of families. I'm going to pause there for a quick second. Does anyone have any comments or questions at this point in the presentation? I know I've said a lot. I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Not right now. Will there be a section on how to form these at your school in this presentation?
Yes, we'll continue with the slide deck. Thank you for the question. Okay. So the let me see here. Let's get this out of our way. Okay. So types of organized parent groups. Let's start in the middle. We have the parent-teacher organizations, which is a local organization of teachers and parents who work together to improve school and help the students. We have the PTA, the Parent-Teacher Association, which is a school-based chapter of a national level group of parents and teachers that promote closer relationships and improving educational facilities at a school. And then we have the parent-led affinity groups, which are a parent-initiated organization based on the interest of the parent that contribute to school initiatives. And I'll get into a little bit more. I'm not going to get real deep about the parent-teacher or the PTOs and the PTAs. I know Ms. Debbie Demery, who is the expert in our school district on PTAs and PTOs, can also dig a little deeper if you have her on to present around these two things specifically. Let's see. There we go. And then we go on to talk about the benefits of engagement. And we know the importance for students, families, and schools about building partnership, decision-making, and advocacy, and working together to really elevate family engagement at the school level. We talk about the difference between the PTA versus the PTO, the affinity group, and what are the differences. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into this. All that to say that, they all have a different focus. If you notice in the first column under the PTA, the Parent-Teacher Association, members, and there are all kinds of the guidelines and a lot of guidance on this. Again, not going to get into a lot of that right now, but you can certainly, like I said, ask Ms. Debbie Demery, and she can also give you additional information and the whole rundown. She's very knowledgeable around this. But some of the differences include members pay dues. If you have a parent-teacher association, it is made up of parents, families, and teachers. There are memberships, and the members pay dues, and then they have this particular focus areas. If we look at the PTO, the parent-teacher organizations, again, parents and family members, the membership dues are optional, and then they also have their focus area, which are parent engagement, advocacy, fundraising, and event planning, volunteering, school support, parent-led activities. And then we have the parent-led affinity group. Again, membership dues are optional and also related to particular parent interests, and they may focus on academics with teacher partnership, sports, community service, and parental support. And also there are, under the various PTA, PTO, and parent-led, at the very, very bottom, you'll see where it says bylaws and procedures that are determined by the National Parent-Teacher Association. So the PTA they have bylaws and procedures that are determined by their national association. If you look to the middle, the PTO, groups write the bylaws and procedures. And same thing with the parent-led affinity group. The groups write the bylaws and procedures. So again, there is a lot of information, a lot of different things as it relates to these particular organized parent groups, which you can certainly, like I said, you can research a little bit more on your own, but just wanted to give you sort of a high-level overview of some of the differences. So here are some resources as it relates to some more information about PTOs, PTAs. Also attached here, you will see these are our 2 district-led policies around the parent or around the organized parent groups. Our particular office, we have 2 policies that guide our work. We have the KCA policy and we have the KCA-RA policy around organized parent groups. There's a slide that is not here, Mr. Parker, that also talks about how you can, and I apologize for that not being here, but I can share that with you all tomorrow or soon as we end this call.
Okay.
But it also gives the outline of how to start the organized parent groups.
Got you. If you could you give us like a brief overview on how like a parent could start one or find one at that school if one is available?
Sure. I mean, it starts with communicating with the principal, and that's where we lead everybody. So in the school, you have your principal, you have the various in the school, you have like the community school coordinators, you have the liaisons, you have specialists in the school. So right off the top of my head, generally speaking, the folks work with the school principal and really they begin that conversation with the school principal. And I'll start with that. And then if folks want to start it, then we have a whole list of things and or items that they can use to know how to start the organized parent groups. So
Okay.
that's I mean, I know that's not an in-depth answer of sort of, a how-to step because there are many. But I think it certainly has to start with them saying, hey, Principal so-and-so, we would really love to begin an organized parent group. And so then they'll have the discussion about what type of organized parent group are you interested in having, and then going through like, okay, you have to write the bylaws, you have to make sure that you have your meetings, you have to make sure that you are documenting, you have to make sure that you are advertising, and what are your goals and objectives, and what are your bylaws, and how will it benefit the families and the students at the school?
Got you. So, with that, um, will they seek guidance from like your department or the principal themselves? So let's say, because for myself, I wouldn't know how to write a bylaws or anything like that. So if I'm looking to form one at my child's school,
Mhm.
I talk to the principal.
Yeah, and then
They
our
give me,
office can support you
okay,
around developing and writing bylaws, absolutely.
okay, got you. Okay,
But it's up to the school leader to say, okay, you would like to work, we'd like to have this particular organized parent group at our school. Let's talk about what the goals, objectives are. Let's make sure that we are engaging families, across our school. And then you can reach out to our office for additional support and bylaws, documentation, ensuring that like there's interpretation, translation, all of those things. So we can really give you more one-on-one intensive support.
got you.
Great
Um,
question.
are principals encouraged to give families this information? So let's say like at the back to school nights or something like that. Do the principals are they encouraged to say, hey, listen, you can form these different ones at this school?
Sure, they can encourage, they can share with families, we would love for your input. We would love you to be part of the decision-making and advocacy part of our work. From our office, we hold the School Family Community Council, which is again another group, and we really encourage families and school members to be part of their School Family Community Council. We also encourage our families to be involved in the budget engagement process. So there are many ways where where families can get involved if they don't necessarily want to be part of an organized parent group, but also want to have that say or be a part of some decision making and advocacy, which is why we want to make sure that families know all the things that are happening at the school, and making sure that supporting schools around messaging those things out.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Thank
Any other questions around, again, I know this was just a brief overview of organized parent groups.
I don't see any questions on YouTube or on Facebook.
Okay.
I have a question really quick. It sounds like you kind of answered it a little bit. But just for those individuals that are not aware or doesn't have that much information, can you again explain just the small difference between a PTA versus the actual school family council? Because I don't
Sure.
some parents may be not aware that schools should have school family councils and how they're able to find these individual leaders or people that are supposed to be advocates for this type of parent-led organization. And how do also a school family council work in collaboration with a PTO, PTA, with these entities be operating in the same school at the same time?
Sure. So not all schools will, well, let me start here. All schools in Baltimore City School District should have, with the exception, the charter schools do operate a little bit differently. And some of the charter schools have PTAs, some have PTOs, but our traditional schools are required to have a school family community council. School family community council is important, obviously for several reasons, certainly around decision making and advocacy, but also around our work then becomes also heavy in the principal selection process. So if a school is getting a new principal, or there's a transition in principals, for whatever reason, the school family community council has a voice in that. And so, schools are required to, make sure that they are uploading their documentation, they are choosing a chair. As a matter of fact, prior to this meeting, we just had a meeting for our school family community council chairs, that we share information that they should be sharing with their entire school community. We're really getting heavy into the budget season, which is another big touch point for schools to make sure that their families are informed, involved, that we are sharing our priorities with as it relates to their school budget. So with parent teacher organizations and PTOs, they are not necessarily required to share all of that information because again, sometimes their focus area is very different than what the school family community council's focus areas are, if that makes sense.
So if there was a charter school that wanted to have a school family council, how would they operate that? Or
so charters work. Yeah, that's a great question. So they would then follow the guidelines outlined by the school district for school family community councils. I actually am coming from a charter school. I was 14 years in a charter school. And so we did things a little differently because we had that autonomy. And so we had a PTO, and the focus of, our PTO was, again, it was on fundraising, event planning, and volunteering. It didn't focus so much around decision making and advocacy, which is what the school family community council really leans a little bit more heavily on. So again, our focus area was a little different. But if a charter school wanted to have a school family community council, they could certainly do so as well.
And who would be the point of contact for SFC?
So from my team, it's Evan Murray, who is our lead on School Family Community Council. And if folks need, and he also has and holds weekly office hours. So if folks wanted more information or needs, some additional guidance on School Family Community Council, Evan Murray is our go-to person who supports that body of work.
Okay, great. Does the organized parent group, any of these align along with, I know we talk about advocacy and decision making, but also like training parents and family members and community members to be more engaged in school. So does any of this like align with the family university?
It could align with Family University. Thank you for that question. Because I'm really excited and proud of the work that we've done with Family University and really rebranding and getting that up and running. Eliana Clayton is our Family University administrator. Um, if and it's led by families and for families. And if that was if organized parent groups was a topic that they wanted to discuss or not discuss, but if it was an area that they wanted to focus on to provide training for families, then that would be something that the parents and the families would choose to do. And then they would, incorporate that into some of the various trainings that Family University hosts.
Okay. Is there, my last question.
No, that's okay.
Is there also any like additional training for individuals that are a part of any like parent group, like individual parents that want to be like in the leadership portion of a PTO or PTA or SFC, right? So
So for
people
the
just don't come in
SFC,
to
yep.
be like
So
a president or vice chair, things of these natures. Like, is there opportunities for people to train at a communication office or any additional resources that um, may be given by the district?
yeah, great question. So the training for PTA and PTO would have to be, so for example, for the PTA, again, they're a national organization. And so they would receive the training from that national organization. And again, Ms. Debbie Demery, who is here at the district office, oversees that, the parent teacher association work. So I would lean on her and would have folks reach out to her because she's really knowledgeable in really understanding or explaining the difference between the PTA and the PTO, as well as the training that is offered for those two particular groups. As it relates to the Student Family Community Council, if folks want to become a, school family community council chair, yes, they would have training provided by our office through Evan Murray, who again is the individual on my team who is the lead for that body of work. So folks would receive training in order to be the school family council chair to then lead their group of folks on that committee.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any additional questions in the chat. I also do see Miss Demery has entered the Zoom. So good evening. We are talking about PTO and PTA organizations being formed in city schools and charter schools as well. So if there's anyone that has any additional questions for Miss Stone or Miss Demery at this time, please place it in the chat or come off of mute.
I've been talking about you, so that was right on time.
I know my ears were burning, so I just said, let me get on this call because
yeah, perfect timing.
I had to smack them. So
yeah, you're the guru.
Okay, so the question is how to become a PTA, or because there's a difference.
Right, and I was sharing with the group, just in looking at this slide, some of the differences, but I kept saying your name. I said Miss Demery is very knowledgeable in this area, and to certainly lean on your expertise and for additional information.
Right. Okay. So can I just jump in here?
Can you give us a quick synopsis? I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. So a PTA is an organized group chartered under National PTA. PTO is a group that mostly deals with their particular school, and the work that's done is in their school. They're not affiliated with any organized group. PTA is different because PTA advocates for all children and all families, no matter where you are. They work to bring all groups together. And the main thing is the advocacy piece and that networking piece, where if you're just at a particular school, you're going to advocate and work to support those families and kids in your school. PTA works differently because it advocates for everyone all over. And to become an official PTA, you have to work with us. You have to be chartered under National PTA. So we are with the PTA Council in Baltimore City, and we are the ones who will charter you, we will train you, we will provide the support that you need, because we work directly with the state PTA. And also, I am a vice president for field service for Free State PTA, which is the state entity directly under National PTA. So in addition to doing the work in Baltimore City, I also do the work throughout the state for PTAs. Was that brief enough?
Thank you. That was excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any additional questions for Ms. Demery while we have our slide up?
Ms. Demery, does the PTA or PTO, does any of these entities need to be what's the word I'm looking for? Considered as like a nonprofit or
Yes.
any of these types of organizations? Can you
Yes.
tell them about this process as well?
If you are a PTA, you are automatically a 501c3 nonprofit. You are chartered under National PTA, the Free State PTA, and you go through the same process that if you wanted to. The only thing with PTA is if you want to become incorporated, you want your own 501c3 status. If you fall under that umbrella with National, your chartering amount, the amount that you pay is going to be about $270. Where I've heard groups who've tried to charter on their own, they're spending $700 to $800, but they're out there on their own. They don't fall under that network that we have. So not only do we work with the units in the state of Maryland, we also work with all of the units throughout the country. So that's one of the advantages of being recognized with National PTA, because they offer grant opportunities, other trainings. We've just had Renaissance Academy get 2 National PTA grants, $4,000 a piece, because they are a PTA and they filled in the grant application. So you're your own little business, but we still work with you to maintain your compliance, because like any group within the state of Maryland and any state, you have to fill out certain paperwork and submit it to the government at a certain point in time. And we assist you with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there opportunity for organized parent groups that's outside of PTA or PTO that hasn't been chartered or anything of that nature that is able to either receive any type of resources such as training or any type of professional development for groups that's just beginning?
Is that a question for PTA?
Yes.
So PTA is for PTA. When we train you, we're going to train you to operate as a PTA business entity. So other groups can do whatever they do. PTA has bylaws, there are dues that need to be paid, and there's compliance issue that's involved with that. So we're going to train you for that. We are not going to, I am not going to, and none of my field service team is going to go and train a group that is not affiliated with PTA. That's not what we're going to do, because we're giving you something that our units pay specifically for. So it's almost like we're doing it for free, but technically, no, we can't do that. Now, we'll be glad to bring you in as a PTA. Now, I do want to say this. Free State, if you are a local unit and you want to organize a PTA in your school, Free State PTA will pay for your incorporation, which is about $270. They'll also pay your insurance for the first year, because every unit that's PTA has to have their own insurance. And we have a recognized insurance carrier, Ames Insurance, and he's throughout the country. So Free State will pay for your incorporation, but your insurance for the first year. The next year, your insurance you have to pay for. So that might be an incentive for people to say, well, we can't afford it. Well, yes, you can, because Free State is going to pay for your incorporation. As long as you maintain your compliance, you won't have to worry about that.
Okay. I'm just really asking a lot of questions, giving buffering time for our live stream, just in case individuals on YouTube, Facebook, or anything that's trying to put any questions in. My last question for you, Ms. Denver, is would there be any type of a conflict, like if there was a school, either a city schools or a charter school, um, if there was a subset of parents that wanted to organize as a PTA and a subset of parents that also wanted to organize as a PTO, would there be a conflict in that particular one school building?
Well, yeah, that's a conflict because you only need one organized group, and it's better to work together for a common goal. I don't know why you would want to be a PTO and not connect with PTA because it offers you so much more than a regular PTO. PTA gives you everything that you need. They even have the training opportunities on their website. They have the flyers. You don't even have to think about sending out a meeting flyer, an email. PTA gives you all of that. But the one thing that's a hindrance for people with PTA and principals in particular, because PTA members have control of their money. Your bank account must be separate from the school. And a lot of principals feel as though they're going to lose control of their money, but they're not losing anything. If anything, these parents and families are gaining a voice. The principal works in partnership with the PTA. We have a whole book on how to work with your principal. And we tell our families, the principal runs that school. You have to be respectful. Whatever that principal says, that needs to happen. So we want them to work together. And it's a partnership because we're all in this to service these kids and make sure they have everything that they need. So it's not one group against the other. It shouldn't be.
I'm gonna say amen.
We got two questions from YouTube, Marvin, if you want to read them.
Thank you, sir. We have one question from YouTube that says, "Does the school district independently check of the parent satisfactions of these groups?" I don't know if that's a question for Ms. Stone or Ms. Demery, or maybe both.
So where we see the satisfaction about does your school provide you with opportunities for decision making and advocacy, we see that show up in our panorama survey for our families. All schools have the results of their family survey every year. Families are asked to complete the survey, and that is one of the categories, and that's where we can look at the data to see the level of satisfaction for the families.
Yeah, we're not associated with, we are a partner in the district, but the district does not mandate what we do. So we don't have to, but they can see what we do. Now, I do want to say that out of all the schools in Baltimore City, only 6 are official PTAs or recognized PTA groups. So that's a problem. That's a problem because they're missing out on a lot of opportunities that they're not going to get with a regular PTO. So PTA has that national connection and all that money flows. And national PTA asks all the time, why aren't schools in Baltimore City? Why aren't there more schools in Baltimore City? That's a problem. That's a question for me. It's not that we're not trying. It's the fact that people are a little apprehensive because of that money piece. But PTA is not about money. It's not about fundraising. It's about advocacy and how you can have that voice for your child.
Question number 2. This looks like a statement to me. It's just my educator hat being put on. It says, without a budget scorecard explaining whether money spent accomplished performance goals, and it says question mark. Involvement in the budget process feels like a ledger review with no real feedback during the budget year.
So as it relates to budget engagement, as we're going into the budget engagement season, schools should be advertising, receiving parent and family feedback, and then, again, the budget is a process, right? We have our initial meeting. The schools have their initial meetings to talk about, okay, families, what are some things that you know, you would like to see at our school. So they have that discussion, they talk through that. Then they have another meeting and they talk about, okay, families, based on what you shared, here's the transparency of our budget. This is what we're spending our money on. Whether it's staffing, programming, these are things we can afford, these are things that we cannot afford. So schools should be sharing in a very transparent way, sort of all the steps throughout the budget process. And that should not be a secret to any family at all.
It shouldn't be a secret to any family, but we know that there are some schools that are not following that process. So if that's the case, then when they reach out to us, I know we push that to our schools that this is the rule. They have to be involved in that budget process. And a lot of them, I know one school in particular, I'm not going to say the name, they didn't have that budget conversation until later, much later in the year. And it was because they were trying to, I guess, satisfy something on paper, but that's not what it's about.
Right.
You have to follow the process, and there has to be some type of follow-up to make sure that these things are being done. And when parents say that it's not being done, we need to take that seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And, charter schools, again, have their different guidance. But to your part, Ms. Demery, you're absolutely right. I was in a lot of meetings last year where schools were called out. You didn't share because so Mr. Mark Laveau out of our office holds that body of work. And so when when folks are phoning and saying, hey, this school did not host their budget engagement session, they didn't do a thing, we have a folder for each of the schools. And so when the school hosts the meetings, and we've created folders with all the materials, right? It's dummy proof. We have it in different languages. We have all the things that they need, sign-in sheets, agendas, all the things. And so one of the parent members said, hey, they did not host the meeting. When, yes, they did host a meeting, but guess what they didn't do? They may not have advertised it, right? Yeah, we had the meeting, but who did you share that information with? How did you advertise it? How did you get the word out to the parents and the families that you were hosting this meeting? So we do track, and to your point, Ms. Demery, if schools did not do it, then, yeah, that's a whole problem. And so then we go down a different path of, conversation with schools on why they did not do it, because it is required. At a minimum, to host 2 meetings.
Yep.
Okay. Not seeing anything else on Zoom. Kayla, is there anything else on social media?
No more questions from social media that I see.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Demery. That was timing.
Well, thank you, Ms. Stone. It was. Like I said, my ears were burning. I said, look.
Yeah, we were talking, we had talked about, student family community council, school family community council, and, how, in our school board policy on organized parent groups and things like that. But again, you are the expert and well-versed in the PTA and PTO, and I will continue to reiterate that. So they can have you back on another day.
As long as I don't have a conflict with something else, I'm good. I'll be glad to come back at any time and explain the whole process. I have a whole slide on how to do all of this.
Yep. So PTA and PTO.
We're doing it tomorrow.
I appreciate your support.
Right. Thank you all.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Well, thank you, Ms. Stone and Ms. Demery, for your time and expertise in this organized parent group. Information and resources. If there's any slides that you'd like to share with us, or Kayla can send it out to parents on social media or email blast. Please do that at your best convenience. As we are moving along inside of our meeting, we're now moving into the related group updates from DRM, ACLU, and PTA, which Ms. Demery is still online. So, from my knowledge, there has not been any updates from Disabilities Rights of Maryland. Still checking in with Ms. Marshall to check and with a convenient time for all of us to meet. Malik, is there any updates from ACLU?
Um, we just really connected with Frank, me and Shartae. Just connected with him, talked about the beginning of PCAB and all of the work ACLU has been doing for Baltimore City's schools. So that's really all. Hopefully next time we meet, we'll have a little bit more updates. But yeah, just really good first meeting, really.
All right, appreciate that. Um, let's see, Monica, are you still on? And or Miss Demery, if you want to give us any updates of what y'all meeting was about for the last time y'all discussed or have a conversation.
I am here, but I would pass it on to Miss Debbie for her seniority.
Oh, well, thank you, Monica, but I was going to pass it back to you because I talked to you, but that's okay. That's okay. So really, and I appreciate Monica, Lisa, and Tia so much for doing this. The only thing that we have coming up, we have a lot of things coming, but the most pressing thing we're going to have is legislative night in Annapolis. And that's going to be, I believe, February the 17th. And it's where PTA locals can, from all over the state, actually can come to Annapolis and meet their legislators and talk to them about the issues that they're concerned with. So we're going to provide that opportunity, and more information will be coming out because we also have a legislative agenda that we want to present that covers all of the schools in the state of Maryland, not just one particular district. So basically, that's what we have so far.
And forget from state it is just for all communities.
You was breaking up, Marvin. Can you say it again?
My fault. My question was about the legislative night, whether this just for PTAs or is it welcome to the community for individuals with, for example, like any individuals that's probably a part of our policy committee, part of PCAB, or is it just PTA chartered
We'll,
chartered organizations?
we will put that out there for anybody who likes to come. If you want to come to that event, I'll make sure you all get the notification and you can come. You know, there's no stipulation on that as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, appreciate it. If you could share that with Kayla, that would be great to put that inside of our outreach opportunities.
Definitely, I'll get with Kayla.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now we're moving forward with our committee reports or updates, beginning with Family and Community Engagement Committee. Is Trinae on?
I know she just had a baby.
Oh. Well, congratulations, Trinae. She's had a little bundle of joy. Kayla, do you know if Trinae shared anything or any talking points for tonight?
No, she did not.
Okay, so we can move forward.
Yeah.
Policy Committee, Ms. Charlene Faison is not here tonight as well. So we can just table her update until a later time. Teaching and Learning Committee, seems like all of our committee leads is not in attendance. Dr. Ryan. So we can move forward with this as well, Kayla. Okay, what's next for PCAB upcoming budget forum? If you have any questions or concerns, considerations at our upcoming budget cycle, we welcome your feedback. We are preparing to host our annual budget forum during our January public meeting to help families to better understand the process and to continue to ensure that All of our perspectives are represented in this budget form with information about the meeting. Will continue to be posted on all of our platforms and social medias. This meeting will take place on Thursday, January 15th, 2026. And that comes to the conclusion of our last meeting for the year. So if anybody have any questions, additional questions or information or anything that you would like to share, updates or things you would like PCAB to attend, this would be your time. Check in the chat.
Kayla said no questions on social media. I think we're done for today.
Well, appreciate it. Well, I would like to wish everybody a great holiday and a great season and a happy new year. Thank all of you for coming and attending this last public meeting for all of us. If you need any more information on PCAB, I encourage you all to please visit our website at www.pcabbaltimore.org in order to get involved and join a committee. You can find this information at bit.ly/PCAB Baltimore. And get involved. Follow all of our social medias on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or X, and LinkedIn. If that is all, then we all dismiss. 30 minutes ahead, 34 minutes ahead of time.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Demery.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming out.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
so
night,
much.
everyone.
Good night. Thank you.